White socks and the Kthomas shirt. In elementary school, the pig-tailed sweet girls wanted to kiss the good-looking sweet boys, while the other boys played kickball and the ugly duckling girls read. In middle school, we became mixed with all the other schools from across town, and the pig-tailed sweet girls wanted to kiss the rebel boys with dyed black hair and Marilyn Manson shirts, who smoked cigarettes and weed, and they'd get high together, and some of those girls would give up their innocence. Some of the good-looking sweet boys became popular guys, who began to drink and take advantage of the remaining sweet girls and touched them in places they weren't ready to be touched. The other good-looking sweet boys became pimply-faced and awkward, and could no longer get the pig-tailed sweet girls, just the prim and proper pure little daddy's girls whom wouldn't kiss or touch at all. The non-good-looking boys played sports, the nerds studied, and the ugly ducklings read. In high school, the weed-smoking rebels, strangely, were still dating middle school girls. The pig-tailed sweet girls used and tossed away were handed to the upperclassmen, friends of the pig-tailed girls' brothers. The popular good-looking guys now got both older and younger girls, drank more and kicked the shit out of the nerds, and the pimply-faced ex-good-looking sweet boys. The pimply-faced ex-good-looking sweet boys would get fed up with the non-touching, non-kissing prude sweet daddy's girls. They'd go for older and hotter girls, but fail. The prude, non-touching daddy's girls would then find the juniors and the seniors, and suddenly they were ready to be touched. And the pimply-faced ex-good-looking sweet boys would be hurt, having to watch the love they had be used and thrown away. The pimply-faced ex-good-looking sweet boys would be alone, and too hurt to notice the eyes of the ugly ducklings, looking up from their books, coveting from afar. A few years later, the weed-smoking rebels were still listening to Marilyn Manson, dating middle schoolers and were the same height as they were 4 years ago, and still as smart. The sweet pigtail girls, now 2 generations used, are alone because their date-raping boyfriends are playing ball in college, drinking and cheating, using all of the unpopped leftovers. The sweet pigtailed girls are now alone, and the pimply-faced ex-good-looking sweet boys are bigger, stronger, and have cleared-up faces, and no longer care about the used pigtailed sweet girls. Although some of the sweet boys became hurters after being hurt themselves, most got back on track. The once again good-looking sweet boys are now in love with the ugly ducklings, now turned beautiful swans, whom like to be touched plenty, and still have their innocence, plus culture and intellect. The non-good-looking boys got scholarships, will do well in college academically, and leave sports behind. They'll marry an ugly duckling because of who they are and not what they look like, and they will be the happiest of them all. To recap, those sweet pigtail girls are used up early and look 40 when they're 20, makeup covering their faces that have been jerked off on one too many times at keggers because their boyfriends were horny and the girls were ragging, dark shadows under their cold eyes, dropping out of college to have the jock stars' kids. Ironically, they give birth to ugly ducklings who will be greater than the parents ever were. The jock stars were once good-looking sweet boys who drank too early and fingered the sweet girls before they understood their bodies. They used these women because they hated them, possibly because their dad pushed them too hard or their mom held them too much. They soon become old men with shot knees and bloodshot alcoholic eyes, cold dead eyes like their wives, selling cars to millionaire nerds who run their own companies, set for life and laughing inside at the all-star quarterback working on commission. It's fine, though. The nerd boys will marry many ex-cheerleaders turned ex-models turned ex-beautiful who will use the nerds for their money. The nerds won't care, though. They did something with their lives. The ugly ducklings become the educated beauties, the working mothers who are the most amazing. All they want is love, and to share their love with a man and a family. The strong, non-good-looking guys have technical degrees, become good providers, and just want to love and be loved, to raise their kids the same, and they will. To reiterate, they will be the happiest of us all. That one kid in the class who wasn't great-looking, but not too bad-looking either, who never spoke up but got good grades, he'll soon be teaching the class that you once shared, teaching your kids what you never learned, and he won't be surprised when your kids become depressed because he knows how their parents once were and probably still are. Some jock stars will come back and try to teach, only so they can coach, and try to make friends with the new jockeys and be a mentor, but ignore the other boys and make those sweet boys even bigger introverts and outsiders. The coaching jock teacher will suck at his job just like he sucked off that guy at college after one too many beers and found he had something to hide. His class will be failing, so he'll change the grades to make himself look good. I swear this happens. How else would I have passed freshman algebra? That guy with the Camaro who deflowered your ex-girlfriend and kicked your ass in the parking lot at Sonic will still have the Camaro when he's managing that Sonic. His daughter will drive that Camaro, and your son will be fucking her in the ass in that Camaro in the parking lot of that Sonic. Those two talented black boys who were the backbone of the football and basketball teams who could have been great will hang with the wrong crowd and expect to be handed things they didn't earn. Spend off-court time smoking chronic and will eventually rob a McDonald's but be too high to remember where they parked and will be arrested. That boy who spent countless hours in his garage working on his car in the cold, drinking to stay warm, will take his first drive and end up killing his girlfriend's grandparents. That posh, uptight rich bitch who was always too good for everyone and who kept her virginity all throughout college will lose it to a guy 10 years older who has a wife and kids. His wife will find out and divorce him. He'll lose everything he had. And the posh-ass bitch will also leave him. He won't be the last one she does this to. That guy who dated the same girl all throughout high school and college, who got married and had 2 great kids and a beautiful home in suburbia, will end up being the guy from the previous story. The valedictorian will go to Harvard Law, marry a less goal-oriented man, and have a few kids. The dad will raise them while the mother works. By the time the kids go to law school, the letters home will be addressed, Dear Dad. Mom will be too busy to read them anyway. The kid who knew all the answers to all the questions because his mom was a teacher and smothered him in knowledge and other things, he'll get perfect scores on the ACT and SATs. He'll hit the real world and see that he's nothing special. There are a ton of geniuses in the world. He'll realize he never made any friends except for his mom, and he'll blow his $1 million brain all over the walls of his $25 motel and fall over dead on his Princeton acceptance letter. The battle scars we receive during these days can be worn as badges of honor or a crown of thorns. I cannot say whether I'm right or wrong about this formula. It is a good general idea, though. All I can say is what I was, what I became, and what I hope to be. I was a good-looking sweet boy who once was a boyfriend to the cute pigtailed sweet girls, the ones who would eventually become those used broken angels. I became a pimply-faced awkward boy who raged and turned into a muted demon. I was one of the boys who was hurt and turned to hurting, trying to be a popular jock, touching girls before they were ready, and burning for it to this day. Persecuting the nerds because I didn't understand them, wanting to be a rebel but didn't have the balls and had too much brains. I later became good-looking again, but still hurt women and used them to make them hurt. Except the terrible thing is I never hurt the girls that hurt me. Most of the girls who hurt me become women who hurt themselves, or marry men to do it for them. I fell in love with an ex-ugly duckling, now turned beautiful swan, and hurt her. Then I left her and she hurt me. She found a good-looking sweet boy, who somehow made it through this process untouched and unchanged, and is still a good-looking sweet boy who deserves who he has. Although hurt once more, I did not resort to hurting, and hopefully never will again. I now just want to love and be loved. I was that sweet boy who became a tortured teen with a brilliant mind and endless dreams. All I want is to be that sweet boy as a man, and I'm trying hard to do so.